So now I kind of alluded to Pam, our sister. So our sister Pam was asking us in a question. We text back and forth with the sisters, and she was just kind of like, "This has been a crazy week, and what is happened? Have you guys looked into what this coronavirus, what's the spiritual meaning behind the coronavirus and why it's happening? And is there, spiritual meaning behind it? Because this is all, crazy and." People, she specifically asked about people, the fact that people die alone and that they're, we can't really even have funerals a lot of times because we have to we can't be near each other, that people aren't able to say goodbye to family and stuff in person, things like that, where it seems especially difficult, especially cruel. And it's kind of like, why would that be? What is the reason behind it? And so I guess we talking about that when I looked at it, and I've looked at it, I look at it again and again. And what I have found, at least for me, is that there's many reasons. It's not just kind of one blanket reason why. I think if there was a blanket reason why, it's because at this time, the world needs to learn to work together. Because there's something happening to the earth, and we are all going to need to work together to figure it out. And so it's something that has impacted the entire world. And we're all looking for a solution. We're all looking for a cure. We're all looking, we're all kind of seeing each other in having the same problem all of a sudden, because with the United States, our problems are usually so different than like a third world country, or, the problems can vary. And so then you have different perspectives on things. And I think it has, in a way, made the world, not for every person, clearly this has not happened for Donald Trump, but I think for a lot of the world, it's made them understand that we're all just people. We're all just trying to figure this out. We're all going through this. It's affecting people's the economy and stuff. But I feel like you've said many times, it's kind of on the micro and the macro level. It's like there's things happening for individual people, like we said, trying to figure stuff out. What do I want to do for my life? Am I on the right track? Should I be more spiritual? Should I do? It's all these questions. Spending time with family. And then there's all these things on the big level, which is that we need to learn to cooperate. We need to learn to work together. And it also is exposing a lot for at least for our country. It's exposing a lot of the why we need a government, why we need a national government. I mean, just things like that are just kind of the more, practical everyday things that we don't really think about until something like this happens. So I guess my answer would be it's many things, and there's a big message, but there's also many, many small messages for individuals, for groups, for communities, and I think Spirit is always so good at taking awful things and letting them unfold in a way that's for the good of whatever that, means, or it's for the good of something.
Right.
They're just very good at doing that, when it comes to the earth.
Yeah.
Things that seem awful or horrible, you see what good they can lead to at some point in time, even if it's in the future. So that's my 2 bits on it. What do you think, Kris? Do you want to pull a couple of cards?
Yeah, let me pull a couple of cards and see what we get here. I should let you see these.
Okay.
Can you see them?
Yeah, I can.
So 3 cards, 2 major arcana cards, 2 out of 3 major arcana cards. The death card, what can you say? There are so many people who agreed to and are meant to and want to leave at this time.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it feels like and like the words I just heard is mass exodus. There's like a mass exodus. For a lot of reasons. For some, it's been just a lead up to, life is just hard. And they knew that this would be like an exit point for them at the time. It's also a statement for them to make,
Mm-hmm.
to leave at this time. But it also it's this feeling of so many people leaving, and it really does feel like this the rest of us kind of left behind, to sort of deal with all this stuff. And it's like this was part of something that we agreed to try and deal
Mm-hmm.
with all this aftermath. But there's so much that comes up afterward. I mean, I think that we're all thinking that we'll find a cure, and take care of the virus, and then we kind of, oh, okay, we're back to normal.
Mm-hmm.
And this, it honestly doesn't feel like that. It
Right.
feels like there's so much left to deal with, and those of us left behind are kind of like, okay, we'll take this on, we'll deal with this. But a lot of the people that are leaving have led long lives, a lot of the elderly,
Mm-hmm.
other people
Uh-huh.
who purposely came in for a shorter amount of time. And it's kind of like they've done this, whether in this lifetime or another lifetime, like they've done a lot of work. This
Mm-hmm.
Their ending is not easy, and so that's
Mm-hmm.
part of the work as well. And so they've sort of done that. They moved to the other side, and we'll continue to help for them from there. But we're left to sort of and willing to take on this, um, really difficult rebuilding and
Right.
reshaping.
Right.
It's like, man, it feels like a lot of work.
Uh-huh.
Which I know none of
Yeah.
us wants to hear, but yeah, but that's why I picked this death card, because it's talking about, and that's a very spiritual, um, reason. I mean, this sort of, we talk about all the time the shift. This is a
Right.
little bit different in that it's very immediate, it's very physical. These are very
Right.
physical things that we have to change. Um,
Right.
there's one Jacob's journal that I just did and like recorded and that I'll have up in a day or two. It talks about cleansing and the need for
Uh-huh.
cleansing, and how there's always a need for cleansing. Like
Oh, right.
like you build up things and then you have to sort of cleanse is the word they keep saying, and that's what it's
Mm-hmm.
talking about. And this cleansing that we have to
Interesting.
do. So,
Yeah.
but that's why you get the Queen of Pentacles card, because Pentacles are about very physical things, and we've talked about this feminine energy coming in, and this
Right.
Mother
Mm-hmm.
Earth energy, and this Queen of Pentacles. It's talking about all these earthly things, but it's talking about this. You can see the card. It's like very beautiful. She's in
Mm-hmm.
a beautiful sort of lush garden. Everything's sort of under control and very peaceful,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what we're meant to build after this sort of death. um, this There's just so many people leaving. Part of the spiritual things too is that their absence is so noticeable,
Mm-hmm.
and it's almost like we want to live up to their legacy, and like make their death have meaning, make the
Right.
world the place that they wanted it to be, or
Mm-hmm.
that they hoped it would be, that they didn't live to see. So there's that kind of energy behind it when you're talking about like spiritual meaning.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But we do rebuild. And I really feel, talk about political stuff. And you probably get this all the time, but I don't delve into this very much. But it feels like a real cleansing, a real, like, what I see is like a water cannon when they shoot it at people, like shoots them out from under their feet and just sort of wipes them away. That's
Yeah.
what I'm seeing. But it's of corrupt, lazy, uh,
Yeah.
greedy, leaders. And
Right.
we've come to understand that they're not leaders at all. They're
Mm-hmm.
just profiteers. They're just
Right.
profiteering. It's
Right.
like the old robber barons. That's really what they are. It's just robber barons. And so we do really sweep that clean, and we understand that, and the whole point of all of this, um, this very physical stuff, and then all the pain and the death, the COVID itself, is to lead us to the magician card. And the magician talks about, I mean, the biggest part of the magician talks about bringing the spiritual to the earth, and developing these tools. And that's why there's this sort of awakening during all of this, pandemic time, and people turning to channels like ours and
Yeah.
saying, help me understand this, and also please tell me it's going to end.
Right.
It's like, as you do that, you get to people start to realize that this is real. They build more connections. Not everybody, of course, but
Right.
the bigger part of people, and even if they don't accept everything or don't grow as close as they could, they still understand that there's something bigger than them, right?
Right.
That's what this is about, is building that connection, forging that connection. But as far as like Pam asking, like, what's the spiritual message?
Right.
I mean, the spiritual message is um, there's a reason to live at all. So there's a reason to have the earth.
Right.
And we have sort of veered from, and we've done this again and again through history.
Right. Right.
Right now, we're at this point where once again we need to reset. But I
Right.
think now, because we have done this for thousands of years, this reset needs to be very noticeable and strong and thorough to
Right.
to get us to that better place so that we can do better things,
Right.
learn more
Right.
things, right? That's the whole purpose, that kind of connection, is to expand on these things.
Right.
We were talking about the whole idea of Atlantis.
Oh, right.
The
Mm-hmm.
thing about Atlantis is they were there. They were there for a really long time, where they had
Right.
this really strong connection, and they did like amazing things. And
Right.
then the corruption and the laziness, the kind of taking
Right.
for granted, crept in, and they lost everything, and we were
Right.
hurled back to almost like primitive times. It wasn't quite primitive, but you know what I mean.
Right. Right.
We lost a lot of that, and this is almost like a bringing back to that Atlantis state and trying to
Right.
sustain it for a longer amount of time. I don't know if it'll be able to be sustained
Right.
forever, but I feel like
Well,
that's
and
what we're building to.
yeah, and yeah, I agree. And I also, it's interesting because that you have taught, or we're talking about a cleansing, and the Jacob's Journal things about a cleansing, because when I did my predictions for the year earlier this year, so much stuff, you can go back and watch it. It's so much stuff had to do with water, with floods
That's
and
right.
tsunamis, and like a tidal wave I saw, and I saw like mudslides. Everything seemed, it was so water based in a
Yeah.
weird
And
way.
the
And
rains and stuff. I
yes,
really feel
yes,
like if if spirit is nothing, nothing else, they're very like literal and symbolic. Like
yeah,
they use this, and so if you're talking about cleansing, they're going to send you some literal symbolism. Is that the
right.
thing? Does that sound does that
Literal.
sound like?
Well, yeah,
But they're going to send you some things that are very literal to you, but that really are heavy in symbolism, like all this
mhm,
water stuff. Because
yeah.
I hadn't thought about that, but that's really true.
It
So
just, it only came back to me because you talked about, that it was a cleansing and stuff, and
yeah,
I thought it's weird that it's like it really is like, everything waters,
yeah,
stuff. So
it's true.
um yeah. So, well, and that there's, that it's further like proof too that there are, it's almost like not only are things changing, but there are things that need to change. And
Yes.
it's like, unless these people are gone, or unless this stuff happens, it's not going to change. So
Yeah. Right.
this needs to happen. And
Yeah.
it is ultimately, I think, for the greater good. I mean, I really do feel like we are going to have a stretch of time that is just going to be like innovation, cooperation,
Oh
all
yeah.
kinds of
Yeah.
art and music and entrepreneurship, and all of these things that are going to be so great. But it is kind of like you said, kind of, I've talked about it, like unearthing, all of
Mhm.
the ugliness, the ickiness, the racist, the
Yeah.
corruption, the all this stuff. It's kind of like, get it all out and let's deal with it, and then let's heal and move on.
Right. Right. And just like that, like we said in that first reading with the three cards, is it really does feel like so many of these people that will be leaving, these, especially these older people, they really have put in the time to bring us to this
Yes.
point. often for, especially when we feel the deep loss of some of these older people, it's because they've done so much good. They're not perfect. Nobody's perfect, but
Yeah.
they've done so much good, and we just feel their absence
Yeah.
so deeply, but they've worked. They've done all the work,
Yeah.
and this is the
It
time for
is.
them to go, when they sort of leave it in our hands and are kind of, it's almost like we need to press forward almost on their behalf. I mean, John Lewis is a perfect
Right.
example of
Right. A
that.
perfect
He did
example.
so much good,
Exactly.
and there is that
Exactly.
feeling of we can't let his dream and everything that he worked for die.
Right.
You know?
And it is like they're all saying like my work here is done. And
Yes,
now I'm moving
yeah,
on and now here
yeah.
it's left to
Here
you
it is in
guys.
your
So
hands. Yeah.
yeah. So thanks, intuitive viewers. It's been a good time talking. I hope that it's been enlightening and interesting. And please, if you need a reading right now, Cardvoyant Kris or cardvoyant.com to
Yes.
get a hold of Kris
Yeah.
for a reading. I'll be starting readings up again in January. So I'll be kind of closed down for just a little bit while I do classes. If you want to do classes, send me just an email that says classes in the description, intuitiveview@gmail.com. And I'll send you back a little thing to tell you I got your email. And I'll let you see Lucy Goose.
She
She's
wants me to
Patty.
see her.
Okay, so I'll see you guys later, and we'll see you, Kris. Thanks, Kris.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.